Hey guys, how's it going? Today we're gonna do another episode of the Ham Radio. This one is going to be part two, and it's going to be about repeaters, what they are, and sort of how they work. So, like I always say when I try to explain something, I'm not a teacher, so forgive me. But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. So, with that, let's jump in. A repeater. It's exactly what it sounds like. It repeats whatever's put into it. Now, see here, I have two handheld radios. These are 5 watts, I believe. Sort of a line of sight is about how far they'll talk from one another. But if we set them up for duplex and go through a repeater, we can talk a lot further. So, an example, let's say, here's your ground, and if, I'm not an artist either, but I'll draw me a little stick figure. Let's say I'm here, and you're over here. Let's say you're, let's say we're 20 miles apart. Simplex, 20 miles apart, these two radios, it's not going to happen. We're not going to be able to talk back and forth. Or even if we were a few miles apart, but we had a building or a hill or something in between us, then definitely not going to work. And here in a second I'll explain that. But if we put a repeater in between us, let's just say this is a repeater, and it's like an antenna, then what's going to happen is when I set my radio to duplex for that repeater, my signal is going to go into the repeater, and the repeater simultaneously is going to rebroadcast it out. Sort of like how a satellite works in space. So that in a nutshell is kind of what they do. Now, another way to explain it is, let's say we're looking down, okay, looking straight down, and I'm here, and you're over here, okay. Your radio or your antenna, it puts off a radiation pattern, okay. If we're looking straight down, let's just say that our radiation pattern is this big, okay. Same goes for you over here. Your radiation pattern is this big. Now, obviously the two don't meet up, so we're not going to be able to talk. But, once again, if you put a repeater in the middle, and normally a repeater has a big antenna, a lot of height, more power, things like that. Radiation pattern for a repeater is going to be this big, more or less, okay? So now, as you can see, our radiation patterns from our handhelds are within the radiation pattern of the repeater. So now we can talk back and forth through the repeater. Okay. Now what's happening is when you set up your radio, if you want to use a repeater, you have to set your radio up for what they call duplex. Now, what happens is when you hit the push to talk button, your radio automatically transmits at a different frequency from what it receives. So, for instance, the repeater that I own is the frequency is 443.125. That's the received frequency, and that's what your radio is going to have displayed on the display. It's 443.125. Now, when you hit the push to talk button, it's going to change, and on UHF it's going to change 5 megahertz. So when you hit the push to talk, your radio is automatically going to start transmitting at 448.125. Okay, and that's the received frequency for the repeater. So you transmit on the 448.125, the repeater receives that signal, and it automatically rebroadcasts it back at 443.125, so whoever's on the other end can hear it. So that's sort of how it works in a nutshell. But that's, you know, that's what a repeater does. That's how they work. There's a lot more to it, but we'll get into that later. And the radiation patterns and stuff that I'm showing you, they're not always a circle. I mean, there's different antennas. There's beam antennas, and usually it's all jagged. You know, it's never going to be a perfect circle. But an omnidirectional antenna, which is kind of what we drew here, will put out a round pattern on the radiation pattern. Like I said, it's not going to be a perfect signal. Excuse me. It's going to have jagged edges and stuff. And, like a beam antenna will put most of the signal out the front of the antenna, a little bit out of the back, and you know, it might have a little on the sides depending on how good your antenna is. So anyways, like I said, I hope this kind of helps describe what a repeater is. I know it's quick, but I was trying to make the video short so people don't get bored with it and stuff. But I'm hoping to do another video and I'll actually show you my repeaters and get into that a little more. And we're putting up a 120-foot tower here in the very near future, so I'm definitely going to have video of that, and we'll explain stuff. And next, I'm thinking the next video will probably be on antennas and the radiation patterns and sort of how they work and whatnot. So if you guys have any questions about this, I know it's really vague, but that in a nutshell is how a repeater works. So if you got any questions, feel free to ask. I'll try to answer them the best I can. And like I said, I don't know everything. I'm not a teacher, but you know, I'll do the best that I can. So anyhow, yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. And thanks for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe, and I'm hoping to do some more videos on ham radio. So if there's something you guys want to see, feel free to ask, and I'll do my best to make a video of it. So thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one.